Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of 6 Foot Sports, the deeper side of sports. I am TJ, the one and only, and let me just take the time out to say who I'm here with today. Someone who is near and dear to my heart, mentor, friend, phenomenal and amazing woman in my life, Coach Anne Donovan. How are you doing today, Anne?
Great to be here.
Anne,
yeah, we graduated to Anne.
Well, how's everything going?
It's going great. This is the first summer that I've had free for years, so I'm really enjoying every day and just pinching myself that I actually have a summer to myself.
Wow. Well, you're glowing. I actually mentioned to you a little bit earlier, like, you just look refreshed. So there's a lot of big things happening in the sports world this year. You know, it's the 20th anniversary of the WNBA. It's the Olympic year. You are one of the most phenomenal women when it comes to sports. Can you just tell me a little bit of your history? First, to start off, you were raised in Ridgewood, New Jersey.
Right.
You went to Paramus High School. Not only you were 6'6" at the time,
That's right.
You know, highly recruited. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I come from a big, beautiful Irish Catholic family, so I'm the youngest of 8 kids, and we had a hoop in the backyard, and we didn't have a lot of money, so it was an inexpensive thing for us to do in the backyard, and we'd get very competitive with each other. And all of my siblings played in college. My oldest sister went to Georgetown, played there. You know, Appalachian State, Marist College, Penn State, Michigan.
You
so
guys all went
a lot
D1.
of history.
There was no D2 in the household.
That's right. So the pressure was on the youngest to follow suit and kind of evolve, and and blessed, because again, my father passed when I was young. So financially, what a big help that college scholarship was for all of us.
Yeah. So did you enjoy the game of basketball, or did you do it just simply because of the fact that your brothers and sisters were playing basketball?
It's a great question, because I don't think all of my siblings would say they love the game. I love the game. You know, for me, I was so quiet. I was such an introvert that I was really struggling once I left home. You know, I'd struggle to kind of find my place. And basketball gave me a different family. So I could go from my own family into a basketball family, and I could kind of grow. So I loved it. It gave me an outlet that I really needed.
Being a woman of your stature, did you find the sport a little bit easier, or did you find it difficult that you were trying to fit in certain places, whether it be the 4 or the 5, or did you kind of just go right into it smooth like butter?
Back in my day, TJ, I was a 5. There was no versatility in our game back then. But it was tough, because with being very tall came, awkward and coordination issues. So it took a while for me to catch up to my body, so to speak. So I can't say it was
your right arm was
smooth
going this
sailing.
way,
Exactly.
and
my
your
left leg was going someplace else. So I think it was 5th grade I got my first trophy, and it's significant to me because that's when I realized, okay, I can be okay. This is going to be something that if I work at, maybe this can lead me someplace.
So, but when you were entering Old Dominion, how was the practices and the hard work of playing college basketball than it was from playing high school? I mean, I know, but
Yes.
what was the difference between my day and your day?
Well, it's similar, though. I think what you're getting at is the same thing I went through. It's like we played a very good high school, state championships, high level, great coach, phenomenal, still one of my mentors, Rose Battaglia. But when you get to college, it's just different. It's completely different in terms of the work level you put in, both physically and mentally. You have to think the game at a much faster pace, as you know.
Yeah.
So there was a big learning curve. Going from high school to college, I often give the analysis, it's the same as going from college to the WNBA. There's a huge learning curve. And only the great ones survive in college and also in the WNBA.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in college, my coach, I don't know if you know who she was, but, she was really hard on me.
Yeah, I remember her.
I've learned so much when it comes to her. She had this one rule where, if we didn't make layups at a certain point, she would put 32 seconds on the clock. But, that was her. I'm pretty sure you don't do things like that.
I'm familiar with that rule, actually.
Oh, really? Oh, really? No. So now you're leaving Old Dominion, and back in your day, there wasn't a lot of professional opportunities for women. Predominantly, you guys had to go overseas to play professionally. How was that? Because you played in Japan and you played in Italy.
Yeah.
How was the experiences overseas?
It was really interesting back then, because a lot of players were going overseas, but there were a lot of players that would go to someplace in Europe and get stuck, and they wouldn't get paid, and they wouldn't get an air ticket to come back home. So they were really getting stuck. So when I came out, I knew I wanted to play overseas because that was my training ground for the Olympic team. I needed to stay competitive in a time and score situation. So as I did my research, Japan they were paying very well. They were very,
Sorry to cut you off. You mentioned something that I think a lot of young women and a lot of players right now need to hear, as she did her research. And that's something a lot of players don't do now, and that's something a lot of agents don't do now. So I just wanted to repeat that so you see the importance of doing your research for players that are going overseas and, you know, aspiring to be in a professional level when it comes to sports.
Yeah, you're so right. You're absolutely right, because it's really about the fit. You can get a great contract, but if the fit's not right. And Japan didn't seem like the right fit. I'm 6'8", so it didn't seem like going to Japan was the right thing. But it ended up being a great place for me to train. It was super difficult, 2 practices a day kind of stuff, and just very physically demanding, but it was perfect for me to come back and play in the Olympic team twice. So it was really my training ground, and I got to put some money in the bank, so it worked well.
So now you're training for the Olympics, you're getting as prepared as you possibly can get. You know, you're getting prepared to play under phenomenal coaches as well. You know, Kay Yao, Sue Gunner, Pat Summitt. How was that experience for you? Those coaches are legendary in the game of basketball, and, you know, sorry to say they passed. So how was that experience for you? And when you heard the news of a recent passing, how did you feel about that as well?
You know, I played basketball, and now it's common to play into your 30s. When I was playing, it was, you know, when you got to 30, you better retire. So I was considered a grandmama at that point. I was still playing at 28. And so when I got into my career, it was hard. I didn't have a lot of working experience. So my experience was all about playing for these legendary coaches and learning as a player what worked for me, what didn't work for me. So my philosophy as a coach really was formed by these great coaches that I was able to play for. You know, and in terms of their passing, it really struck me when Pat lost her battle just a couple weeks ago that these coaches formed me. Coach Yao, Coach Summitt, Coach Gunner were 3 of my favorite and probably 3 of the best coaches in the world,
Agreed.
let alone that I played for. But to lose all 3 of them, and Pat most recently, it makes you stop and think and appreciate life a little bit more.
So where do you feel, just focusing on Pat a little bit, where do you feel the Lady Vols are going to evolve now?
You know, Pat just, you know, people talk about her, the impact she had in women's basketball. No, it's bigger than that. It's bigger than women's athletics. It's women. It's a whole generation and a gender that she's affected, opportunities, and how people look at, you know, basketball players, basketball coaches. Just, she crossed that gap of, you know, women that weren't given a lot of opportunities, or maybe were given with some skepticism, and she just broke doors down. So it's pretty unbelievable what she's been able to do, and watching the impact now through her passing of her impact on Alzheimer's disease and some things not related to the game at all, but that's who she was. She was that kind of iconic figure that she just has impacted so many different walks of life.
Coming back now, so now you're finished with the Olympics. You have 2 gold medals, you know, as a player. Now jumping over to 2008, where you're in Beijing coaching. Did you ever think that you would be coaching the Olympic Games? When you received the news, what was your reaction?
You know, I had been with USA Basketball, you know, I was a player's representative on all the committees, so they groomed me to do some things in a managerial type position. But once I started coaching, I was an assistant coach long before I became the head coach for USA, for our national teams. And even though I knew it was kind of coming, it was kind of the hierarchy, it was going to happen.
Was coaching something you wanted to step into?
I didn't know. You know, I didn't know really how it was going to feel. And I never dreamed it. You talk about something coming full circle to me, because if there's a passion for me, it's red, white, and blue. I know you're a Jamaica girl, so I hear you. But I love anything with the Olympics. So to have that come back to me was just phenomenal. I mean, that truly is just the biggest blessing in my life.
Well, the Olympics is going to be going on right now. How do you feel these group of ladies are going to be doing?
You know, I can't imagine we don't walk away with a gold medal just like that. Now that I'm not in that position of pressure like Gino is, it's a little bit easier to put the pressure on Gino. So they'll do well. They'll, you know, there's some other countries that'll be interesting to see. Canada has done so much better through the years.
Really
yeah,
well.
and France, Spain.
Australia has always been a competitor.
Very true. Always medaled. So without some of the great players now, it'll be interesting to see how they do without Lauren Jackson
And Candace Parker.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that was, I was quite surprised, to be very honest. You know, historically in USA basketball, if players can't commit to all the training, not just the Olympic Games, but all the training prior to that, you know, there's a chance that they can't make the Olympic team because you have to show a commitment. But from what I understand, Candace showed that commitment. So I was as surprised as anybody that she was left off that team.
Wow. So Coach, you've literally been coaching since I was born, 1989 till 2015. And congratulations, you just got your 200th win with the Connecticut Suns. But you know what, before we get into that, to my viewers, stay tuned to 6 Foot Sports, the deeper side of sports, for the Part 2 exclusive interview with your favorite Anne Donovan.